Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has been out for only a few months, but because of its well-timed release as a holiday title in the Switch's first year, it's already become the best-selling game in the franchise. Because of that, I know that there are a lot of new fans who just got into it with the most recent game and sort of want to know what to do next if they really liked it. So I figured, why not make a video of what to do if you got into the Xenoblade series with this latest game, and where to go from there. Usually the first thing I'd suggest to do after getting a game and liking it would be to go through, see if it has any DLC and stuff, but unfortunately as of the time I'm recording this, the XC2 DLC isn't out yet, and won't be for another several months, so I can't really speak of the quality of that or whether it's worth the $30 price tag. However, this is Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which means there had to have been a Xenoblade Chronicles 1 at some point. If you really enjoyed 2, then I would definitely suggest playing the original first, because out of all the games in the series, it's by far the closest tied to it, both story-wise and gameplay-wise. Its combat system is a little archaic when compared to X's and 2's, but it's still fun all the same, and it's still very much worth playing, if not for the story alone. Now, this was originally a Wii game, and if you live in North America, unfortunately it only got a very limited print run and was a GameStop exclusive, so finding a copy of the Wii version there might be a little difficult. It was released normally and significantly earlier in Europe, so if you live in one of those countries, you should have a much easier time finding a physical copy of the Wii version. It was also ported, of course, but that was to the new 3DS, which means it's a system that not many people own, and the port only adds a character model viewer, while at the same time detracting a good chunk of the graphical quality. Yes, it is a Wii game, but it's also one of the best-looking Wii games in the system's entire library, largely because of the environment design and art direction, and you really can't get that even with the smaller screen of a regular-sized new 3DS. If you don't own a Wii or Wii U and still want to play the game, then yeah, if you have a new 3DS, go for it, and it is available for download and physical release, so if you want to do it that way, that is an option, but I would still highly recommend the Wii version over Xenoblade 3D. I don't condone pirating the game, but if you're the kind of person who will buy a regular release and then emulate the game if they can get it running at higher specs on a PC, there is an HD texture pack and I think possibly some updated models if you want to emulate it through Dolphin. And the best part about that is you can use the new 3DS version for buying a copy and then emulating it and don't have to worry about tracking down one of the 2 Wii copies left out in the wild in North America. So that was the game that started the entire Xenoblade series, but what if you're not maybe as big of a fan of a linear story, or you want a game that gives you more exploration and customization? Well, that's where Xenoblade Chronicles X comes in. It was released for the Wii U, so even if you're a Switch owner, there's probably a good chance you don't have a system to play it, but it's more of an open-world experience with a very, very decentralized narrative that instead focuses on side quests and side characters and a lot of world building. It's almost universally regarded as having the best side quests in the entire series, and definitely also has the most content if you want to go for 100% completion. In addition, you get a fully customizable avatar and semi-customizable home base with the Blade Barracks, as well as getting mechs for everyone, character classes, skill trees, and just generally a lot more fine-tuning you can bring to at least one party member than in any of the other games. Your enjoyment of it will depend entirely on whether or not you're okay with the fact that it is a totally different gameplay style from the other 2 games in the Xenoblade series, and generally whether or not you like X more or like 1 and 2 more comes down to which gameplay loop you prefer. That being said, unless you were completely turned off just by the little blurb I've been giving about it now, I would still recommend at least checking out a couple episodes of the Let's Play of X I have on my channel, just to see whether or not you'd like it before completely turning it away. When it comes to how to actually get the game, unless you have a copy sitting around that you've just never played or barely touched and are just going to come back to, I would not recommend buying Xenoblade Chronicles X right now as of late March, early April 2018. Why is that? Because it's almost certainly going to get a Switch port at some time in the near future. And if you're the target demographic of this video, aka people who like Xenoblade 2, you already have a Switch and will have a system to play X on, no matter what. Also, it'll probably look better than the Wii U version, and you will be able to most likely have some sort of online interaction reinstated. There was some sort of Miiverse stuff in the original release of X that's gone now that Miiverse is dead, and actually locks you out of getting certain in-game achievements that prevents you from fully 100%ing the game. So, even if you really, really like it from what I've been saying, I'd still hold out for at least a few months. Wait until the end of 2018 maybe, see if they release at least a teaser for a port, before picking it up on the Wii U. There are only 3 games with the Xenoblade title on them, and you'd think that might be it, but believe it or not, there are actually 4 more games that I can technically go over. They're not Xenoblade per se, but they were made by largely the same team and were the sources of a lot of the themes and general ideas that you see in the 3 Xenoblade games. Of course, they also have the Xeno prefix, and those are Xenogears for the PS1 and the Xenosaga trilogy for PS2. None of these games are really considered to have aged particularly well, but if you want to go into extremely complex, intricate stories that delve into a lot more of the psychoanalytical themes present in the series, as well as just see the inspiration for a lot of things in the Xenoblade series, I'd still recommend checking them out, even from the position of never having played any of them myself. Xenogears is actually available on the PlayStation Store, but unfortunately only for PS3, so if you're like me and a PS4 was your first Sony console, you're SOL. However, you can access the PS Store and buy software for any system just by logging in on the internet somehow. So if, again, you want to do the buy a game and then emulate it if you don't have a way of playing it or can play it better on PC, you can just do that without even having to resort to buying a physical copy of anything, and honestly, I might end up doing that because I really want to play Xenogears, but Sony doesn't seem to want to put it on the PS4 store. Unfortunately, Xenosaga is even worse in terms of playability. It's only been released once on the PS2, so you'd need either one of those or a backwards compatible PS3 to even play it at all, and not very many copies were printed, at least of the English version, so full trilogy sets still sell for at least $120, and that was the cheapest I found on eBay. This trilogy is honestly the only ones where I'd say, okay, yeah, if you want to emulate it, I'm not going to yell at you for it, because, well, none of the things being sold on eBay now are going to give any money back to the developers, and they've seen tons of fan demand for an HD remaster back since the beginning of the Wii U, and probably around the time X was announced, seeing as how it's a little closer in line in terms of setting with the older games. And they didn't really do anything. Yeah, we might be getting a remaster on the Switch, especially because Cosmos was in Xenoblade 2, but I don't know, if you want to emulate those, go for it. For additional non-game media, there are official OST releases for every single game, with Xenoblade 2's not being out yet, and a remaster of Xenogears coming later this year. There's a lot of Japanese-only print media. Both Xenoblade games before 2 have a bigger art book than the one that was officially released overseas, and Xenoblade 1's actually has a bit of a short story expanding on a few cutscenes that they didn't get to include that actually tie up the ending a lot better in my opinion. And if you got into Xenogears, I would highly recommend tracking down a translation of the Xenogears Perfect Works book. This explains not only stuff in the game itself in more detail, but also outlines what was to be of the Xenogears series. The ending of Xenogears contains a message about it being part 5 of a 6-part series, which unfortunately none of the other parts actually got to get finished, and the Xenosaga trilogy was originally supposed to be a 6-parter as well, trying to make up for that, but then that got cut off, he swore off on doing sequels, then Monolith Soft got bought out by Nintendo, and a bunch of other stuff happened. But that is a huge amount of world building that's not in the game, and I would highly recommend checking out. There's also a 12-episode Toei Animation Xenosaga Episode 1 anime. I've never seen much about it besides the odd screenshot, so I can't really mention anything about its quality, but that's also there if you want to get into that. But, believe it or not, besides just crossover games that Xenosaga and Shulk appeared in, that's really it in terms of the entire Xeno series, but hopefully this was a bit of a roadmap of where to go next. In summary, if you started with Xenoblade 2, go to Xenoblade 1, hold out on X. If you want to dabble in Gears and Saga while you're waiting for the export, then go right ahead and do that, and if you want to buy any other official media, that does exist, but you're probably going to end up just looking up translations online if you don't speak Japanese. So, with that, I'm going to try to expand this channel out to more than just Xenoblade 2. Like I said, I'm going to probably try to play Xenogears, and I'm definitely adding stuff from the original Xenoblade and X into my video pool as well in the future, so maybe if you got into the series with 2 and liked my 2 videos, you should stick around while you play along with the other games. So, until next time, this is Luxon, signing off.